Good afternoon. Welcome to the Dorman Lunch and Learn. This is a pre-recorded Lunch and Learn because I had lost my voice from a week of Train the Trainer. And then, of course, in November, we had Thanksgiving. And with Thanksgiving gone, I hope you and your family had a great Thanksgiving. So happy Thanksgiving from us here at Dorman Training. And we're here for hybrid and EV battery testing. My name is Truglia. You already know that. We're going to cover in this hour presentation high voltage battery health, high voltage battery voltages, vehicle scan, hybrid EV batteries, and hybrid EV battery cells. Here's the tool we're going to use. We're using the Autel Ultra S2. That's this tool pictured here. It does work. There's special software, which is this, does work on a couple of models. You need to go to the Autel website to find out. I know it works on regular Ultras. I think a 909 if I'm not mistaken. But go to their website and you can see you can buy that special kit that has all this good stuff. You can test compressors with high voltage, 48 volt test, a 48 motor test, DC to DC test, an OBC test, a PTC test, and battery replacement. Okay, so good stuff there. Now, like everything, nothing is more important than your safety. You go to work with two arms, two legs, two eyes. You want to go home that way, right? Now, I'm not telling you to fear electricity. I'm telling you to respect electricity. You need PPE, personal protection equipment. Look what Autel has in their tool, just like many OEs, okay? They're warning you right here, please ensure you have passed high voltage safety certification. Perform relevant operations according to local regulation and personal qualifications. Only high voltage technicians and high voltage experts are allowed to perform high voltage related operation. Now, where do you get that, you may ask? Well, one certification is obviously the L3 ASE test. There are also some online ASE things that'll help you get through different parts of safety, PPE, personal protection equipment, super important. Or you go to a good hands-on class. We do have hands-on classes, but we're not trying to sell you anything. We want to make sure you're safe and understand. Here's the disclaimer. It's a whole thing that you got to go all the way down and hit accept. If it thinks you didn't scroll down, it won't allow you to go any further, okay? It's going to tell you wear safety protection. Helmet, work shoes with not steel toes, composite toes. Your gloves have to be a class 0, 1000 volt, and they have to have been tested within a 6-month period. So you can only use them for 6 months. Now, if a bag has been laying around that has never been opened with certified gloves, that bag could be up to a 1 year, and then you can get 6 months service out of the gloves. What do you do with the gloves after 6 months? Well, you got to send them out to a testing center where they will certify those gloves again. So you'll probably need 2 pairs of gloves and covers. You're going to need an insulation rescue hook, an insulator rescue hook, a multimeter with Cat 3. I would also say here you need a meg ohm meter and a milliohm meter. These are required by manufacturers to test certain components. And if you don't have them, it'll be like just having a scan tool, puts you in a ballpark, but you can't get down to the nitty gritty. Protective suits sometimes that protect flashes. There's those leather gloves that go over these gloves. Never use those by themselves. Face shield, because of arcing, that is a new requirement. One thing they don't have here is a lock box that is also a requirement, and a tag to tell you you could put, if it's an orange service plug, you're going to need to have all of the protection, including now the new arc shield, because an arc can jump. It could flash your eyes just like arc welding, right? You wear special protection. This stuff is all available from a company like Salisbury, who makes a lot of the stuff. You have other safety stuff here. You want to cone it off, and of course some insulated tools. So that being said, let's look at our first example here. Now, Pierre and I did do some of this on the Motor Age, but in case you didn't see it, or, to give you a little more than we did there, we're going to go over it. It's a 2006 Toyota here. It has 13,000 miles. We go through right away with the auto scan. We see we got a couple of problems. The battery management and the hybrid system is really one, and a brake one there, but we're really concerned with those two, okay? That's a biggie. We look into it and we see we got 2 DTCs in hybrid control, 3 faults in the hybrid battery, and 2 in ABS and traction control. So a bunch of codes there. Now, when you have a code, you're gonna have to research the code first, right? You have to look not only in your scan tool, but you want to go to service information. All Data, Pro Demand, Identifix, Motologic. Look there, make sure you understand system description and operation before moving forward, and see what safety equipment you're going to need. So there are the codes right here, current and in history on this vehicle. And that's also, and we got one here, pending current and in history. So these codes, whether it be a P3000 or a P0AFA, which is usually a high voltage code. The battery, it gives you information on the battery pack, should be 201 volts. You should have 6.5 amp hours, and basically the number of cells are 168. But let me ask you this question, and since this is pre-recorded, you could email me at Gtruglia, Truglia, at dormanproducts.com. It's in the front of your handout, and I'll be more than glad to get back to you. Well, this has 14 packs. A pack is 2 sub-packs. We'll go over that in a minute, but remember that. So on your scan tool, you're going to see data for 14 packs. Each sub-pack is 6 cells in it. Each one of those cells are 2.1 volts each. That adds up to about 17.2. So your pack should be somewhere 14.4, because it's double, 14.4 to somewhere 15, maybe 15.5 volts with some surface charge. If it's not, and let's take a look what this vehicle had. Well, here, look at pack A. Look at that, pack B. So this has 4 bad ones, and the other ones, notice, are 14 and 15 volts. They're in the right range, right? Being in the right range is super important, okay? Because if they're not in the range, then you got to do something about it. So right here, I knew I had to do something. Now, I've reconditioned many, many batteries over the years, and as long as you have good donor cells. Now, if you buy new ones, you got to put all new ones in, right? And new ones are not easy to get. The only ones that really sell good new ones would be a Toyota dealer in this case. There are some companies out there telling you, well, we're going to put lithium ion in there. Be careful. You're not an engineer, nor am I. Don't put something in that the manufacturer did not put in. Why? The car, if it goes on fire, who told you to put that battery in there, right? And remember, batteries need a management system. Well, you're putting lithium in a pack that's nickel metal, and that computer doesn't know that. So you may cause a problem there. So please be careful. I know they sell a lot of them online. Be very, very careful, okay? So here we look at this. Look what it comes up with, all the different batteries, but look. Check or replace the battery pack. Now, normally, I would have to say, yeah, we're going to have to replace the battery pack. Now, this battery pack in this car is probably about 5 years old, okay? And this car sits around a lot now. I use it for hybrid classes. I haven't been driving it around. So what happens when a battery sits around, guess what? The battery starts going dead, right? Not good. In fact, I just read a great article, that someone wrote, I forgot in what magazine, but make a long story short, it was about having your hybrid or EV sitting around. Honda puts a tag on their car saying you need to start the vehicle up and drive it in 30 days. But a lot of people, and there's some companies out there that have vehicles sitting around because they had isolation faults. Well, by the time they get to go fix them, the high voltage battery usually drains down, and sometimes there may be no way back other than taking that battery pack out and trying to get that voltage back up, okay? All batteries have what they call a level of the lowest to the highest. Don't believe everything you see on the dashboard. That's eye candy, I call it. It'll say your battery's 100%. Your battery's never 100%. Your battery's going to be about 80-something%. Your battery's never totally dead. It's going to be about 40 to 20%, depending on the car manufacturer, on the low end, right? So there's always some reserve, but you can drain that reserve down just from never using it. And if you have any parasitic drawer in the vehicle, in fact, someone on this Prius left a light on in the vehicle, so that didn't help. It killed the 12-volt battery, which is an AGM, and killed that high voltage battery. It tells you where the battery pack is located in the vehicle, which is pretty cool. And yes, if you see the color orange, you're probably going, well, that's a Dorman battery. Yes, it's a Dorman battery. And I run a Dorman battery in a couple of other cars I have. My Ford Escape, that battery is about 5 years old, going good. And this thing lasted a while, but then we never used it. So like everything, yes, there is a lifespan. In fact, Dorman does not sell any more hybrid batteries. They sold that to another big company that is using a lot of their great technology that they put in, a carousel that actually puts batteries in date and amperage hour levels and dynos for every type of battery to be tested on different vehicles. Unfortunately, when you had a problem with them, with a battery, in the beginning, when they bought this company off, in fact, one of my students from years ago down in the Carolinas, they didn't realize that the battery, like any battery, could only be cycled so many times and then they're no good. So Dorman decided they don't want to ruin their reputation, and what they did is they sold the company and they got out of that battery business. So it doesn't matter whose battery, we took the cover off. You can see all the cells here. The bus bars were good. Dorman used a stainless steel type of bus bar rather than copper, which really kept the voltage drops down. And right here you can see Pierre and I are testing, we're just going down the whole battery pack. Well, we got 7 volts, 510 millivolts on all of them except these 4 right here. 1, 2, 3, 4 were no good. They were down to 0, okay? And you can see, so 790 millivolts on that, and you see how we X'd them? Every one of these were bad. And it doesn't matter if you have negative. Pierre was taking one side, I'm doing the other side. Do you need gloves for this? No, because we took the service plug out, okay? Now let me show you how we proved this was good. When we were done, and you see the high voltage gloves on with covers, okay? We are on the SMRs, system main relays. This is the negative, that's the positive. The battery's supposed to have 201 volts. We got 209.2 volts, or 200 millivolts. So now the battery pack was good with the 4 donor packs that we inserted in that battery. We had to open the battery up, remove it. Again, don't do this stuff at home. I know there's a lot of guys on YouTube that'll rip stuff apart. If you don't have the experience, if you don't have that, you need to try to get the experience without getting hurt, right? That's the important part. So here, now we have a Ford Lightning behind me. We're going to be connecting to this vehicle in a bit. And this F-150 here, this is a Platinum Edition, so battery capacity is 403.7 volts, or 403, 700 millivolts, right? Excuse me. Now, it did have some faults in here, so I ran this before, and I can tell you why. So the body control module, when this truck was built in 2003, they ran out of chips. So when you go put the massage seat on, that kind of throws a code. And the other stuff here, like a secondary onboard diagnostic module, there were 3 codes for voltage codes, coolant heater, circuit A, but I checked it out. You know, these are history type of codes. So be aware, always check everything. And of course, after I cleared them out, or not yet, you notice there were 6 codes. I went down the list here of other modules and kept going down. Everything else passed. And there were 48 modules that Autel actually scanned and looked at. This vehicle has over 100 modules on board, okay? So that is quite a bit. Now, maybe some of those modules are something they don't scan. I did have this on FRDS. The data looked pretty similar. I don't know how many modules, I didn't count them, that they showed. But be aware, these are all of the most common modules that you'll need information on. They could be other things like seat modules or some other type of module that may not be as important. We cleared them out, no codes, made sure, ran it, no codes, came back. That's the important part, right? So what is this BMS? So in this tool, not only do you have auto scan, control unit, high voltage diagnostics, live data, where you have fusion, you can put one thing to another. Hot functions, one of the hot functions is battery monitoring system, BMS reset. Now, it is super important that you use this, not only for European guys, but you see, this is a Ford. Ford's been doing this for years. This is when you replace your 12-volt battery. Yes, this vehicle has a 12-volt or an AGM, probably about 13-volt battery, right? But when you change a battery, whether it be a lead acid, 12.6, an EFB, about 12.8 or so, and a AGM, which would be 13, and let's not forget, you may have a lithium-ion primary battery. Teslas use 16 volts, BMWs, Land Rover, Range Rover, Jaguar, Audi, Mercedes-Benz, all use a range of about 13 to 14 volts. So be aware that these batteries are out there. Do you have the proper battery charger for a lithium primary battery? If you don't, you've all seen lithium fires. Be very, very careful. Don't just put daddy's old battery charger on there, or you're going to have one hell of a fire, okay? So this is very important for the 12 volts, because without 12 volts, we can't switch over, right? We cannot switch over to the high voltage. Now here, we look at the truck again. We're running through it. We're doing a scan. It tells me I can connect in here, the regular diagnostic link connector, because this kit comes with a lot of different connectors. And if you're ever removing a battery, you need a couple of things. One, a suitable lift that can lift it up. And you need to know where the lifting points are on all of these, what we call skateboard models, like a Tesla, like this Ford, like a Chevy Bolt, like a Cadillac, Linksys or Optic or any of them. They're all underneath the car. You just don't kick the pads under there. If you do, that little gasket on that thin metal case, you're going to ruin the seal there. And if any water or moisture gets in, you can ruin a $30,000 plus battery. And some batteries are super heavy. Don't think you're going to take it down with, hey, Bobby and Jose, give me a hand. You're not doing that crap, okay? Nor should you use a transmission jack. You should have a special lifting table. The Hummer alone, that battery is super heavy. You need to know what the weight is. Service information does show you that. And if your tooling cannot accommodate it, again, you don't want to be hurt, right? That's a big thing. So here, when we go in, and you'll see this, battery pack info, battery pack dynamic test, state of charge bliss test, and state of charge deep test. Now, if you want to see some of the results from that, you got to go to that Motor Age TST one, because you got to drive the car. And you got to make sure the battery is under 50% to do these last tests right here. And you need a charger. Right now, this truck is connected to an Autel level 2 charger, meaning 220, 240 volts to charge the battery up, right? I figured while I'm in here doing this, it was a little low, so I'm going to charge the battery up. That way I have a full pack and can do I think it does up to 315 or so miles. Now, of course, mileage always depends. Well, it's pretty cold out today. It's going to drain down because my fat ass needs some heated seat and some heat in there, right? And if you don't drive like grandma, well, then it's going to go down even further, right? So you probably wind up with a couple of 100 miles or thereabouts. They're great, having had a few electric vehicles already. We have 2 in the family and 1 extended range. Love them around town. I do get range anxiety when I have to go anywhere far. We were coming up from New Jersey and had to stop at the Whitney Houston rest stop where they had a level 3 charger that usually does the vehicle in 45 minutes for 80% of charge. They will not give you more than 80%. Well, that supercharger they had there, some of the newest ones out, it did it probably in about 30-something minutes. So from 45, 35, a bit better, and newer technology. Toyota's talking about even like batteries that are totally different than lithium ion, okay, or lithium polymers. They're talking about like transistorized stuff that can charge up in about 10 to 12 minutes, and the batteries get a longer range. So tons of good stuff. And where do you find good stuff like that out? SAE.org, www.sae.org. Okay, so here's one of the tests that you can do without going out. It says the battery at the time was 83% state of charge, 386 volts in there, 1.2 amps of current, and there's the pack delta voltage, a 5 millivolt type of difference between them, and the battery pack was 39.4. And it goes through this whole graph. If one battery is higher or lower than the other, it would actually pin it out with a color on high or low. So there are no pinouts on this, which tells me this battery is in pretty good shape. Now it also goes into pack stuff here. So it gives me the state of charge. It says state of charge on the pack is 100% it could reach. There's the voltage, it's good, current time, and there's the millivolt drop again and the temperature. And it tells me that M1 is 44.32 volts, okay, 4 millivolt drop, and it gives you the high and low, the temperature of every battery pack. So it is, I think, up to M9, yep, right there, because this is a bigger battery pack on this Platinum truck. You can get a regular one, but if the truck is loaded, they gave you the best stuff that they have out there, okay? It shows you where the battery module are actually located, okay? So notice here, 1, 2, 3, you got all of them, and 9 modules like this one had. It's all the way through the system. So it's pretty nice to know where it is, where the pack is, and make sure you have the proper lift and equipment if you're ever taking the battery down. And before you take it down, don't you need to diagnose it correctly? Of course. That's what we're looking at here and trying to get the point across. Look at the money you can make by telling a customer, hey, you know, your battery is getting weak. A friend of mine sent me an article on a Ford, oh, I forgot the name of it, the little electric one. But anyway, there was a lawsuit because the battery was not venting out. Someone had done work on it, and the poor guy in the car died. Now, of course, they got to prove that it was Ford's fault or the Ford dealers that worked on the vehicle, okay? So all these batteries do gas somewhat, but most of these systems have an ability to vent them out. Even if you go back to a Prius or an early Honda, there's always like a little tube or a little vent area where outside air will allow any chemical to go out. Reading the state of the charge blitz test here, it checks the battery pack, and look at the information that you can charge your customer for. It comes up with all this. This is rated at 403.7 amp hours. You could have all the information, the VIN number, all this, what we're using, tells you where the cells are out. You know, there's the maximum and the minimum. Very important to know that. Here is the range of new vehicle charge when it's full. 515 kilometers is about 320 miles, I believe. So it gives you all that, gives you the temperature, 9 modules, the amp hour, and the report keeps going on, battery pack info. Then you get to see all the different packs here. And look at that, everything right there, okay? So a very nice report that you can print out. It gives you the cell voltage in each pack. So here 402, 403, 402, 402, 403, 402, 402, and 402. That's pretty balanced. Of course, you know what happens with a lot of these packs? The batteries become imbalanced. Now, Ford did a great thing like my Ford Escape. There's a way through the scan tool to balance your pack out. And that pack, you can get a lot of miles at it. One of my friends had over 300,000 miles on his pack. And he sold the vehicle. It was still working quite well. So don't think, that these things are not good. But what Ford had done with that is, hot and cold is not great. Well, Ford had put air conditioning in the rear to make sure the battery pack got cooled, not by only outside air, but by air conditioned air. That way that pack would stay pretty good. So here's more stuff here, and you can see some of them are dead on at 402 across the board. So the more or better it's balanced, the better it is. So this battery is good. If there was a problem, orange warning, red, not okay. So it really gives you some good info from this tool. And then it tells me the test was successful and I'm done. Here's where you're going to go for that information on that webinar when Pierre and I did that. You go to tstseminars.org, free webinar, not trying to charge you anything, okay? Free, just like this Lunch and Learn. You go there and you click on this one here. It'll be the first one up. There is information here, a handout, and an evaluation there. So we'll leave that for a second. Let's go to the tool, and I need to take a sip of my water. Okay, we're going to go totally out. We're going to go into Diagnostic first. Stand alone. And I better just make sure the vehicle is still on. It is still on. Okay. I'm going to hit read the VIN. That way I don't need to do anything. I hit OK. Always look at least the last 4 or 5 digits of a VIN. It comes up with all the stuff here. That is correct. I hit OK. And now it'll load. And, since we're doing this live but recorded for you, it takes the time it takes. This happens to be a very fast tool. And we're going to go through all these modules here. And let's see if there's any faults on them. So you'll see it'll ping everything that it can. So there was the gateway module, GWM, and it is pinging all those modules. Whoa, I see there one with a red. Okay, we're going to have to see what that is. So now that it's there, I can do a report. And it says a total of 47 modules. I got all the passes. We can see that. Let's see what that failure was. I mean, I cleared it out before, and before the webinar, I've seen it. It's a secondary onboard control module, fault. Okay, so we're going to have to go into that module and see what it is. Or it tells you here, coolant heater supply circuit. It has a circuit issue there. Okay. I'm going to have to check that baby out. And there's monitors there. So it gives you all that. Let's go into control unit. So these are all the different control units. And that one was, let's see if they have it in PCM. Key on, engine off. Let's read some codes on demand. Ignition is on. Okay, it's going through. Let's see if it'll do it. Oh yeah, see the lights flashing and things clicking behind me and making doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. There's the fan, the blower fan. So it's going through to see, and it says no codes detected. So I can get out of that. We'll clear out of that. And let's look at those hot functions. So these are all the things you do here with brake bleed, and be careful on brake bleed procedures. I don't know if this one has a special one, but there's the BMS right there, battery module reset. I'm not going to do it, but I'm going to show you. It tells you what to do. And if you don't do it, obviously the battery could have a problem and you'll ruin a new battery put in a car. You could change tire size. You could do the park and brake type stuff, the initialization, all good stuff that they have in this tool. Let's look at some services. You got body service. You can do the seats. We'll get out of that. Chassis, the park and brakes, anti-lock, TPMS, brake system pressure bleed, and dynamic vehicle dynamic report. Electrical, you got battery monitoring reset, new module initialization, cruise control radar alignment, and the powertrain. Relearn vehicle data for PCM. I don't believe it has programming, but you probably can do it remotely. Yeah, not supported on this vehicle. By the way, this vehicle gets program stuff right down from the cloud. At night, you know, sometimes I got cameras at the house, and I'm like, what is going on outside? You know, the big screen in the middle of it's lit up and it's getting all this stuff. They do updates regularly on this thing, okay? And a lot of these vehicles, especially if they're electric, you know, like Tesla, like the our Optic as well, it gets a lot of updates and tells you, hey, this vehicle has been updated, or sometimes I know like on the Cadillac, it's going to tell you it needs an update. Do not, you know, lock the car, get out. You got like 10 minutes for the new update to happen if you want, or you can let it go until some other time. So we're going to look at the battery pack test, this screen right here. You got diagnostics, battery pack tests, health test, bunch of stuff. And of course, you got all your other screens here that you can see. They have some good stuff here. Got some good quick links. Look, got TST down there. Got NASTF, all data. So Autel, obviously. So you got a bunch of stuff there. But let's go into EV pack test. We're going to pick a Ford. There's the warning I told you about with the high voltage. It wants to make sure. And notice I hit it. If I hit accept, notice it says swing up and confirm everything. So look at all that. So it's telling you about, you know, disclaimer before the next step. You fully agree. It's asking you a couple of times, again, because of liability. Here's all the safety stuff as well, okay? And maybe a good idea if you're getting into, you know, the business of diagnosing hybrids and EVs, and I know many of my students, which some I know were on last week when Pierre and I did that webinar, many of them have been successful in their shops, have the proper equipment, and made money. Now, yeah, a lot of times you're not really doing a motor generator or an inverter, converter, but we've done all of them here, battery packs as well. But you just don't want to put something in without knowing how to diagnose it and not having the right training, right? That's when you can get into a bad pitfall. Let's read the VIN. That's correct. And let's show you how we go in there and watch what comes up on this battery type of test. And again, the time it takes is the time it takes, because it has to query even on a factory tool. It'll tell you what interface, or manual jumpers. Look, let's take a peek at that. So here, look at the manual jumpers. From the scan tool, you can go out with this particular connector and go to the connector plug under the vehicle, okay? That goes right to the battery pack. So that's pretty neat. And you could save it by hitting save screen, the little picture thing there, or camera, and that way you have that. So let's go in. Oh, I wonder if it thinks I'm using that one. I may have to back out. It may think, since I selected that, I'll take a sip. Yeah, it said communication failed. So let me go to the interface. Of course, you always want to do the easy way, right? You don't want to take the backhoe out if the shovel will do the job. So this is the shovel. Let's look at battery pack information. Communicating pretty quick. And again, like everything takes time. Now, pretty damn good. Look, I got all that information. State of charge now is 96%. Okay. Battery pack is okay. I like that. Battery pack is okay. Very important. Temperature now is 62 degrees from 39 degrees earlier when I took the readings, right? Module location, you can see where that is. Dynamic test. Now here's the thing I told you we can't do here. It says keep the vehicle stationary for a minute. Well, you can do that. Check the state of charge total current, all cell voltages. Cell temperature and other data are displayed normally. So they want everything normal. Click start to start the test. To ensure the accuracy of the test, drive the vehicle through several times of rapid acceleration while taking care to ensure safety. There will be a progress prompt during the internal resistance test. End the test after the progress reaches 100%. There will be an audible prompt at 100%. Click end and generate report. Well, I'm going to show you. It's going to say right here, everything comes up. It's going to look at every battery voltage. You hit start, but it's going to tell me it wants, because you got to be on the road to do this. And of course, when you're on the road, you don't want to be, and I know a lot of you do this, one driver with the scan tool. It could be dangerous. You're going to be going fast and slowing up. And you hear that? It's telling me to press the accelerator for proper operation. So we can't do that. I'm going to get out of that. Okay. We'll hit escape and we'll go into the dynamic test, which is, I believe, telling us to drive it again. But you could do a stationary test like we did, give a customer report pretty quickly. And by the way, you see this thing on your computer, you get an HDMI wire and you hook this to a bigger screen, you get yourself a cart like the one I'm using here, and you can get yourself a 32 or 40-inch screen and just HDMI it, man, and make your customers look like, wow. And if you're as blind as I am, I like looking at the big wow stuff, right? A lot easier. So here it tells me that test, we can't do it, so we'll get out of it. And here are the features. The dynamic test uses proprietary HPP tracking battery algorithm to analyze data such as voltage, current, and temperature of the battery cells during vehicle operation. And it provides technicians with an evaluation report that includes cell voltage delta and internal resistance. Whether the internal resistance evaluation is possible depends on the vehicle. Tracking algorithm. The DC internal resistance of a battery is a key parameter that characterizes the health status of the battery. An accurate DCIR is usually obtained through HPPC, hybrid pulse characteristic testing, with a dedicated battery test device. Our original HPP traction algorithm, based on a large amount of real driving and maintenance data and artificial intelligence, can automatically match and track the HPP using only a section of the driving data and calculate the DCR of each cell battery pack. Generally speaking, the large DCIR and a greater degree of the battery aging, maintenance technicians can use this information to determine the health of the battery. Meanwhile, due to the bucket effect of the battery system, inconsistency in DCR between battery cells can also affect the overall performance. Maintenance technicians can quickly identify abnormal battery cells from each other. Now, I didn't read you every word, but I read you most of the words. And basically, they're talking about battery imbalance. Really bad if the battery is in balance on all hybrids and EVs. You're not going to get the right mileage out of the vehicle or the right power. And any battery that charges up quickly and then drops pretty quickly, you got a problem with that battery. Perhaps you have a electric gun, right? And you see it charges up quickly, or your lab scope. You know that battery is shot. If it charges quick and discharges quickly, you're pretty much in trouble. So we get out of this. We're going to escape because we can't do that test. This was the state of charge bliss test. You can put all the information in you want. And now it's establishing, communicating with the battery. And let's see what this one will do for you. Now again, when you're connected to the internet, as you can see from the upper right-hand corner, the internet has a red, green check mark, and the VCM also has a green check mark. That way you know you're connected to the vehicle properly. And here, look, it gave this, look at the report. See now, total voltage 392.70. We're almost there, we're 96%. Okay. So look at all that good information that you remember. You could print this all out. You see, can they see the top with the printer on it, or it doesn't show you that? So you got the printer, you could email it. It's a PDF, so customers can see it, and you know you won't have a problem with any of that. And let's look at those battery voltages again. They look pretty damn right on. You know, a couple of 100 millivolt voltage drop, the most I see out of it, or you go 9.5, 9.7, got a 9.3 on one of them, so a little more there. But the battery looks pretty damn good. Nothing marked in orange or red. And again, you can give this to a customer. And the deep test here, this is going to tell you they want the battery under 50%. Now, this is what we did in that webinar. We ran the vehicle down to 50% and then charged it up. We did that on a Chevy Volt. A Volt is an extended range vehicle, so it has a plug to plug in. And it basically tells you here, on a SOH, state of health, deep test is comprehensive analysis of the cell voltage, current and temperature data of the battery generated during the vehicle charging process. Using our unique, meaning the Autel unique stuff there, test procedure, keep the vehicle battery below 50%. While the vehicle is not charging, connect the VCI to the vehicle, execute the tests and directions, generate an evaluation report afterwards. Special note, if time permits, it's recommended to charge the vehicle from below 30% to 100%. Some vehicles need to adjust state of charge upper level to 100%, which will significantly improve the accuracy of the test. Now, what do they mean by that? I read that on purpose. Some vehicles, like many of the Chevy Bolts, from 2017 up to 2024, they did not want the batteries unless they had the latest update, because there is a class action lawsuit on those batteries. You weren't allowed to park them in garages in any closed area in most major cities unless it had an update. And I can tell you that if the battery could only go up to 80 to 90% of a charge, you couldn't get a full evaluation. So many times you are able to go into what I call your display and take it maybe from 80 to 100%. During this test, they'd like 100%. If there's a vehicle like the Bolt I just said that has a warning not to do that, well, don't do it. That battery needs to be replaced anyway, right? And those batteries were replaced under warranty. Okay. So there, it'll give you the characteristics. State of health is a key indicator that measures the degree of performance, degradation of the battery relative to the initial condition. State of health, current capacity of a fully charged vehicle, normal capacity of the new vehicle, low capacity will result in shortened vehicle range on a full charge. It's generally believed that lithium batteries with the state of health below 80% are not suitable for use on a vehicle. So look at that. I mean, if your customer is used to driving a certain, length of time, let's say, they're cooking out an hour and a half ride, so they're doing maybe 70 or 80 miles, depending if they're doing 60 miles an hour. And now if they run into weather that's super hot, super cold, any conditions that they got weight in the car, their vehicle may not get them the range that they used to get. And I think this is an important factor that you need to address with your customer, that it is very, very important to make sure their battery is up to snuff. Now, there are sometimes in the batteries themselves in the vehicle software, there is a way to balance batteries out. You would need to take the time to go into description and operation, and not only of the system on the vehicle, but the scan tool you're using. Do they allow such a thing? Okay. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. So here you can see, please complete the following. It would tell you what to do, and we're going to get out of that because we can't do it. So that is the lowdown on this, but let's go back for a second and look at that one that had a code in it, and that was the coolant. Let's see if we can get into that module and see what the data is to see why that's there. And obviously, it's always good to do the basics, make sure the coolant system is full, which I know is. This has a frunk. The frunk is up front here. It is pretty big. You can put a lot up in that frunk, I tell you that. In fact, I think I can pop the frunk. No, I don't have the key on me. Oh, I left the key inside. All right. So I think that was, let's go through it. It'll be real quick, and then we'll go in there and a gateway module. Remember, everyone is starting to go through gateway modules. A quick tip, if one of your tools does not go through a gateway module, you want to go to autoauth.com. You want to register your tool at autoauth, A-U-T-H, A-U-T-H, A-U-T-O-A-U-T-H, autoauth. Wow, I had to get that out of my brain. All right. So it says this function of this module to monitor the vehicles. Well, there's no emissions on this thing. I don't know what they're talking about there, but let's see what the course is. Just says a heater circuit, but can we get into that module? So we're going to go to modules, and it is SOBDM. So SOB, I got to remember SOBDM. Let me get out of here. Going to enter that system. Trouble codes. We'll make sure we're into the right one. We'll see what that comes up with. There it is. So coolant supply circuit. Let's look at live data. Let's see what the live data is telling us. When it says circuit, circuit high means you usually have an open. Circuit low means you usually have a short. But it's usually a connection, may not be a component. Let's see what type of data they give us here. All right. Okay, so we have a bunch of stuff here with refrigerant. This is all the live data. You can select all of them. You can graph them. You can group them. Let's see, that coolant one is what I'm looking for. Battery, catalyst. It's a lot of data. You can get lost in the PIDs. But I think all those coolant ones is really what I got to concentrate on right there. So you can show all. You can graph them if you want. And there's the coolant heater operation of the voltage, power consumption. And it's nice, like when you select them, you can blow it up like that. You can merge 3 of them together if you like. And there they're all graphing out to see if anything looks funky. All colored for you. They look good. I don't know, I'm going to have to keep an eye on that. You could also make meters out of stuff or go back. Just see what you have there. We can go into the trouble code right now and clear it out. And if it comes right back, then we know we got a problem. Yeah, it comes right back. So right there, we have an issue. Ooh. There. Oh, that actually went out to the internet to try to find something. Oh, by the way, this thing, you can yak to it. You can go like this. Okay, so what's the cause of this code P2DA 5.00-2F? Processing that information with my accent. But I mean, it's pretty cool.
The input brand is inconsistent.
The input is inconsistent with the brand currently diagnosed. So there may not be any information there. So we can get out of it. But pretty cool that you can do stuff like that. Yeah, I'm going to have to definitely take a look at this and see. I mean, it's under warranty, but I want to look at it myself before I bring it over to the dealer. And of course, like anything else, do some research on it. You know, what is the actual problem? How does the coolant system work and what would cause that code? Okay. And of course, you can go to all your service information to find that out. So we'll go back and hit the slides. It's about the end here. Well, hopefully, again, I want to remind you to take a look here. Go to the website, look at this. There's a lot more information. I hate doing these things recorded. I like when you guys are on live. But again, if you go all the way back to the beginning, you could email me if you have a question. I'll be more than glad. I do appreciate your time. We will have a December Lunch and Learn and a heavy-duty Lunch and Learn with my buddy Sweet Own. And we'll get this thing up there for you guys to watch, and you could comment on it. Now, coming up, hands-on lab scope class. Right here in my training center, you bring your scope. We'll not only have you do stuff through a board using your scope, but then we're going to put you on the car. You're going to walk out of here knowing how to use the channels on your scope and how to actually connect to things that are important. How to do relative compression, for example, right? And how to do a starter and battery test. Oh, would I already do that? Are you doing it with your scope? Okay, it's pretty simple. We're going to show you how to hook it up. You'll need to bring your charging cord for your scope, and it doesn't matter if you have a snap-on, a Pico, an E-scope, a Fluke, an Autel, okay? So that class is listed right there. It's on a Saturday, December 13th, from 8 to 4:30ish, okay? The price of the class is there. We will give you lunch. There'll be some coffee and donuts in the morning. So if you have any questions, you can contact us. Go to www.dormantrainingcenter.com. That's dormantrainingcenter.com, where you could also watch this video and other videos. We also have for paid videos that you could watch more things in detail, usually 2 hours with myself, Pete Meyer, Josh Weaver, and of course the great smooth Kenny Zanders, and Sweet Owen if you're on the heavy duty side. So, and we do want to give a plug if you want in-shop training. There's my email again. There you go. So right there, you got it in 2 spots, up front and in the back. If you want us to come out to your shop, it's a 2-day minimum. We go anywhere to do the particular class. We just need pictures of your facility. Do you have a clean environment where there's tables and chairs? Then we need your shop area, and we can come out there and do a multitude of different classes hands-on. Perhaps you bought a new scan tool like that Autel, and you want your guys trained on it, or lab scopes, or meters, or electrical class. We do them all. So go to dormantrainingcenter.com. There is my email, gtruglia@dormanproducts.com. I want to thank you guys for coming out. If you don't have any questions, please let us know how you like this and give me some ideas. It gets very difficult, doing this from 21, I think, these lunch and learns. So we usually try to do 1 a month. And I know this one was a little late, but it's getting up there before the end of the month. So you can look at this next week when you're in the first week of December, and I'm on vacation. So when I come back the second week, we will be doing a lunch and learn that week. We'll send it out in advance so you guys know. Thank you again from New York. I am G. Truglia for Dorman Training Center. Have a great day.